Hi, this is Cory McCarthy. Welcome to a new episode of Fit, Formidable, and Fantastic. That's right, go F yourself. As promised last time, I want to get into a form of dieting known as cyclic keto. Specifically for vegans, actually. I've had a request to do this video, and also I was inspired by the fact that a lot of people don't believe that vegans can achieve a low-carb status when dieting. They think that it's just not possible, or they're brainwashed by the whole high-carb, low-fat, low-protein fad that seems to be going around that really isn't backed by the biomedical community. But that's completely different and off topic. But I'm getting into the cyclic keto strategy of dieting here. Basically what that is, and it is studied, is high fat, moderate protein, and low carb for about 5 or 6 days out of 7 with 1 to 2 refeed days per week. Now the way I do it is I do the high fat, moderate protein, low carb approach for 6 days out of 7, and on the 7th day I have a refeed for 6 to 8 hours, and I do that in the late afternoon. Now, it is possible as a vegan, but what you want to pay attention to are foods that are high in protein and higher in fat, but are lower in what I call non-fibrous carbs. So basically, when you look at a carb total on the back of a product, it'll say, for instance, 5 grams of carbs, 4 grams of fiber, you know, and what that basically equates to is, for instance, 1 gram of non-fibrous carbs, that means non-insulin responding carbs, and 4 grams of fiber that make up the rest of that carb total. So that is an appropriate ketogenic food. Really, you can toy with anything as long as it fits within the guidelines of ketogenic dieting. And I will have a breakdown at the end of this video that you can look at, pause, and write down that shows the basic layout of a keto diet. But what it is really is roughly about 60% of your calories from dietary fat, quality fat, 35% of them from protein, and about 5% coming from non-fibrous carbs. Roughly speaking, you can be in a ketogenic state as long as you're within 30 to 50 grams of carbs, non-fibrous, per day. I find the best results occur at 10 grams or less of non-fibrous per day. Now, as a vegan, it can be done. You'll have to forego a lot of things like beans and tempeh and other kinds of protein sources that a lot of vegans rely on that are higher in carb, and opt instead for tofu. Now, you may be thinking, okay, that's going to cause an estrogen problem. Actually, it won't. The phytoestrogens in tofu really, first of all, aren't in that high of an amount, and second of all, they are very harmless in the body. The body metabolizes them quickly. So it's really not a problem, and I would dare anyone to find me a peer-reviewed study showing that it is. Otherwise, just a bunch of mindless propaganda that's anti-soy. Now, what there is in soy that you need to watch out for is anti-nutrients, which can hinder the absorption of other nutrients in your diet peripherally for anywhere between 2 to 4 hours, and not just the meal you eat them in. But the way you can counteract that is going for a sprouted tofu. I would say fermented because, for instance, tempeh is a fermented soy product, but I haven't seen a fermented tofu product per se, but I have seen obviously sprouted. Wildwood is an example of a brand that makes a sprouted tofu product. And also you want to go organic because there is a lot of GMO in the soy production industry, unfortunately speaking. So you want to avoid that, you want to avoid the anti-nutrients, and you'll be fine. Other things you can rely on are nuts and seeds that are high in fiber, and therefore they're lower in your non-fibrous carbs that I was talking about. For instance, like sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, macadamia nuts. And just like with soy, you want to go with sprouted, again because of the anti-nutrients that are in nuts and seeds. And the same thing for beans as well. But beans, like I said, aren't really part of the ketogenic diet because they're too high in usable, non-fibrous, insulin-spiking carbs. Now, that's basically the gist in a nutshell. Protein will be roughly around about 1 gram by times your body weight in pounds per day, which is, generally around the 35%. And you will need to eat in a caloric deficit. I recommend that what you start out with is your maintenance calorie amount, subtract 500 from that per day, and which roughly comes to about 12.5 calories times your body weight in pounds per day. And that should work out just fine for you when it comes to figuring out a proper deficit. And then tweak from there, of course. That's just a basic starting point. Tweak down from there. If you're still not losing weight at a rate of at least half to 1 pound a week, I would tweak down an additional 100 to 200 calories per day and see how that goes in the week ahead. Nothing too drastic. Don't jump too low too quickly. So again, to stress the key points here, it is high fat, so 60% of your calories from fat. It is moderate protein, 35% of your calories from protein, and it is low non-fibrous carbs, 5% of your daily calorie intake from carbs. And then once a week, for 6 to 8 hours, I usually do it on a Saturday, starting at 4 p.m. for me, running through midnight, I eat carbs as much as I want. I do not count the calories in that one day. I don't count the amount of carbs either. I let it be sort of a free day, and I just refeed. But what I do is I listen to my body. I don't just gorge until the point of puking sick. What I recommend you doing is eat until you feel satiated, stop, rest until you feel like you can eat some more, and then eat again, and eat your carbs that way. For the first 2 to 4 hours, stick with higher carb, lower fat food. So things like rice or fruits or candies or anything like in that ilk basically. And then for the final 2 to 4 hours, you want to then consume. You can consume things that have fat in them along with the carbs. So if you're craving donuts or cake or whatever else, feel free to throw it in at that point. But again, remember, as a vegan, you're going to have to pay attention to, and this should go without saying, but obviously non-dairy, no eggs, that sort of thing. Now, that's basically it in a nutshell. Here are some pictures of some example meals that you can create. The reason I'm showing these is because you may think, oh, tofu, how boring, over and over again, or whatever. But truth be told, this is where spices and such become your best friend. Here are some examples. So there's some examples of what I've done with tofu. Of course, you can really do anything. You could. That's basically some Indian and South Asian examples. But you could, make pumpkin pie flavored tofu with cinnamon and various things like that. Just no sugar, obviously. Now, here is a little teaser of what you can do. Some examples, some vegan treats I've created in a little montage for that carb refeed. So there you go. I hope that gives you a little taste of some things you can do, inspires you a bit. Now, here are some keys to remember about the diet. And you can feel free to train while ketogenic. That is fine. Find what works for you. I tend to find that 3 to 5 days is my sweet spot, and that is with low carbs. Because what I do is I use the time between Saturdays when I'm low carb ketogenic to burn out glycogen stores that I've accumulated during the refeed, And the point of that refeed, of course, is to stimulate leptin and other hormones that crash as you remain ketogenic for too long. So again, this is cyclic ketogenic, not straight Atkins, which I do not advise. But those are some key points that I just showed you to remember. Beyond that, I'm about to give you an example meal plan that could work for someone roughly in the 170 to 200 pound range. Of course, tweak for yourself beyond the base, but it's an example vegan keto meal plan for your keto days. But one other thing I want to stress is that when you go ketogenic, some people, I don't really get it, but some people get something called the keto flu. And I think it correlates to some degree how addicted your body is to carbohydrates. The level of addiction correlating to, of course, the level of keto flu you might experience, which you get some flu-like symptoms, brain fog, things like that. Usually that will occur within the first 7 to 14 days of being ketogenic. And that just shows you the diet's working, that your body is transitioning to using fat for energy, including your body fat stores that you're trying to get rid of for energy, as opposed to carbohydrates and quick glycogen sources to tap into within your body. So anyway, here's an example of a meal plan that you could follow as a vegan keto. So I think that's really it. If you have any questions, please comment below, and I will be happy to answer. If you have anything you'd like addressed in a future video, again, do the same, or shoot me an email or whatever, and I'd be happy to pick out a good topic and do something in a future video if there's something you'd like discussed. If you have anything you'd like to debate or some hate comments you want to throw my way, feel free to do that. I totally welcome it, and I will feel free to respond in kind, because I'm a big fan of debate, and I'm very good at it. So please, hit me up. Content for me. Beyond that, I'd like you to subscribe. Get your friends to subscribe. There's a lot of great content here coming your way, already existing, and I hope you're getting something out of it. Like this video, share this video, and I will see you next week. But until then, stay fit, stay formidable, and stay fucking fantastic.